So I met Hillary a few years ago. I went to high school with her boyfriend, and we always do New Year's together. I actually met her, and I don't remember, at a New Year's party. We were out. I have very little recollection of that. But last year, we were doing a very wholesome New Year's. And my friend group has this like yearly tradition of doing PowerPoint presentations summarizing our years. And Hillary, by far, had the best presentation. So she currently works as a community outreach coordinator at an urban farm in New Orleans. I did check your LinkedIn to get your job title right.
I should correct you. My LinkedIn is not updated. I am.
Oh, perfect. Let me know.
Yeah, I am the communications manager
At
at Recirculating Farms.
Perfect.
Yes,
so
yes, yes,
I've
yes.
met very few people who are as passionate about their jobs as her. And I think this is a pretty unusual job. She's the first person I've met in urban farming. So she was naturally one of the first people I reached out to when I wanted to talk about sexy jobs. So welcome, Hillary. Hillary's joining us from New Orleans. It's 7 a.m. For her. So
Yes, I have my
you're-
coffee, so please excuse coffee during this. But yeah.
Okay, so I think the first thing is maybe not super specific to your job, and then we'll taper in. But what would be your definition of a sexy job? Or like, what comes to mind when I say sexy job?
Ooh. When you say sexy job, I think of a job that turns a person sexy or like makes a person sexy. I think that there's a lot of jobs that drain you, that drain people, and like, I don't know, maybe like a job that is a little too mundane or filled with too many menial tasks that doesn't really give you a sense of fulfillment or success in a way. So when I think of sexy job, I just think of any job where you feel very successful and you're really thriving in that space and in your career.
All right. So my first question is, what does your job actually entail? What does it look like day to day? Just give us like a brief overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So as the communications manager for Recirculating Farms, I oversee all of the outreach aspects, all of the tabling and networking that we do as an organization. I also, since we are a small team, there's only 5 of us total. Um, I also step into other like roles at times as well. So I also do a lot of volunteer coordination, as well as some project management aspects of there's like some project management aspects of my job as well. And so it day to day, it's a lot of very different things. So we don't have an office as an organization because we operate 2 farm sites, and so our like on site is like you are at the farm. And everyone is required to have some farm time, and I absolutely love it. I love that as the communications manager, I still get to go onto the farm and like help out, which is really nice. And so on Mondays are my remote days. Mondays are typically just like paperwork, setting up for the week, planning out any long-term projects or plans that I have. And then Tuesday and Wednesdays kind of fall into those buckets as well. But Tuesdays, I'm also on the farm for like half of the day to oversee some volunteers that we have. And then Thursdays is mainly on site. So we do a grocery delivery service where we pack boxes every single week and then we deliver it to people on Friday. And so on Thursday, as we pack the produce, that's our on site time for the day, and then Friday we deliver it. So all the team members, we go around and we deliver the boxes. And then Saturdays are volunteers and in person. So the schedule can be a little wonky week to week. And especially day to day, everything's like really changing all the time. But it's a really nice balance. It's like this hybrid work of like sometimes you're on site at the farm working, and then other times I'm just like at my laptop at home and just like working from home. So yeah.
And how did you get into this? So, like, what did you study at university? Was there a link? Like, what was the original
Yeah.
way to? Because I feel like a lot of people don't just naturally end up working at urban farms.
No, absolutely. So during university, I double majored. So I majored in environmental science with a concentration in biological sciences. So I'm very research, data driven, like that is my bread and butter. And then I also majored in theater arts. that one, I just love theater, and I love both environmental science and theater, and I couldn't
Coming from
choose.
someone who did a literature degree and then went into marketing, like I fully support getting the fun
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm a busybody, so I just decided I was like, let me just do both. And on it both of my degrees have served me very, very well. So yeah, and so during university, I also volunteered a lot. I knew that I loved nonprofit. I love government work and just like helping to give back to the community in any way. And so moving to a new city for university, I was like, oh, what's a good way to get to know the city and get to know people and places? And volunteering was the answer. And so I started volunteering with Recirculating Farms my first year at university. And then from there, I slowly, as I had time in my schedule and as my school schedule changed, I volunteered whenever I could, really, for the most part. And so the team got to know my face, and I think that like they knew me, knew of me, by the time that my final year, my senior year at university, I interned for them. Um, so then after I had interned for them, I was talking to them very openly about wanting to go into nonprofit and not knowing how to enter the space, not knowing how to establish myself working in nonprofit, especially environmental nonprofit. And so, yeah, I was just picking their brains and asking questions. And I was like, oh, how did you get into it? How did you get into this work? And even as I volunteered at other environmental organizations as well, I asked everybody how they got into the work and into the industry. And like most, I would say 80 to 85% of people told me that they entered through AmeriCorps. And so AmeriCorps is this federal program
Is it
where
still going on?
presently it is still going on. Yes.
That was my, like, after the election, the first thing I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
God, I
yeah.
hope Hillary still has a job because she's federally funded.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Some programs have been cut, but some programs are still going on. Right now, a lot is up in the air, which we'll get into with the shutdown with the government shutdown that we are currently experiencing. So we'll get into that, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, so everyone did AmeriCorps for the most part as I was talking to them. And again, AmeriCorps is this federal program. You apply, you sign up, and if you are accepted into the program, you talk you interview with a couple different organizations, nonprofits
Is this the
that
thing you said was sort of like sorority rushing
yeah,
prepared you?
yeah, and it really, really is. But yeah, so then after you interview with a couple organizations, then they match you with one, and the one that you're matched with, then you're placed there for a year. And so I got matched with Recirculating Farms. And so then I was their community outreach coordinator for the 1 year that I was with them, and then after I that ended in that ended in July. So then
Of
after
this
that,
year or last year?
this year, like just past
Just,
July.
oh, that's why
Yeah,
the
yeah,
LinkedIn is.
yeah. The LinkedIn is not.
I love
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
could
yeah.
have texted you this morning and I was like, oh no, like, I don't want to bother
No.
her so early. Let me just check her LinkedIn. I spend way too much
No,
time
you're
on
so good.
LinkedIn.
No, 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 you're fine. I do too. I do too. But yeah, so then after the year, then I August we take a break. It's too hot to farm. Anyhow, September I hopped back on. They invited me back full time as communications manager. Long story, but that is how I'm here.
All right. And so I feel like it was a pretty smooth transition. You were kind of having these conversations as you were getting ready to graduate. And it wasn't like you didn't really have a lull in between graduating and starting work, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
This is my. Let me tell you, the limbo, it can be glamorous at times, but like it's a lot of staring at spreadsheets.
No, 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 absolutely.
So I'm not sure if this question will still be as applicable for you, but like when you
Mm-hmm.
were looking for jobs or considering what you wanted to do, because I feel like I've been speaking to a lot of older people, younger people, like people who are graduating now, what were the things that you were considering important to you when looking for a job? So kind of what were those main pillars? I guess nobody gets something that ticks all the boxes, but like what were your priorities when you were considering what you wanted to do for work?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely wanted to do nonprofit or government. I considered going into private for A little bit, and I had a couple interviews, but I knew that it just wasn't for me at the end of the day. Maybe I'll step back into it later. Who knows? You may never know. But I think for me, looking for a job, I was really looking for something that would allow me to be flexible. Um, since I travel so often, especially like, and I'm like traveling like internationally every like 3 to 6 months, and so
That's so much.
hmm I really needed a job
Keep
that would
missing each
like,
other.
I know, um, but I needed a job that would be okay with, me traveling for that time and like being like a working farm and, a farm nonprofit. Like during winter, during dead winter, there's nothing really you can do. And so, I'm able to head out during that time, which is great. And then I think also this sense of a workspace where I can grow. A lot of workspaces I feel they want you to work for them, but then they don't allow you the courtesy of messing up. And I feel like that can be very, very stressful for someone, especially fresh out of university as well. Like you don't know what's going on. You're not wanting to step on any toes and
Yeah,
ask too many
the amount
questions
of
and
times I've had my friends like at drinks being like, I think I'm gonna get fired. Like it's happened to,
yes.
and most of my like, at least people my age are like within their like first or second year of work, and everyone is like,
Yeah.
they have like stress dreams about getting fired over like the smallest things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that my team personally, everyone holds each other accountable, which is absolutely amazing. But everyone does it in a way where it's also, if you need support, like I can give it. Like we are such a small team that yes, we have our job titles and yes, we have our niche spaces that we do work in, but I'm also okay with like stepping over into the farm for an extra day of the week if need be. I'm also like someone else is also happy to like take care of communications for the day and like send out a couple emails for me if I really need them to. Like it's very flexible. And I think also the something that I'm very happy about with my job that I think I didn't know that I was looking for this at first. But now, moving forward, I will continue to look for it in other jobs, is this lateral power dynamic. Because mm, the way that I see my job and my team and the way that we all see it is that we are all equal. We all have say in what the organization does and in the way that the organization moves. So we're not necessarily just taking or hearing top down, hey, do this A, B, C, D, and then following through with those wants and requirements. It's more so top down, like, hey, I heard of this opportunity. There's this coming up. What do we all think? And so then as a group and as a unit, we decide how the organization moves in the future, which is, I think
A
that
huge benefit
allows,
from a small, when you have a small team, I feel like that's one of the big things that you also have so much contact.
yes, absolutely. And it allows you to want to do the work because you know that you have a buy into it and that you like your voice has a say in what happens next. And so at first when I first got the job, I was like, "Oh my God, like I haven't even been here this long and you guys are asking me like all of these like, questions of how like the future of like recirculating farms should look and like what projects to take on." And they're like, "Well, yeah, absolutely." 'Cause like you care because you're here because, so yeah. So I think that that mainly now for me is like what I would look for in a job is really just like the flexibility of it, which is great, the ability to grow in the job, and then also the power dynamic and the power structure of the organization itself.
All right. Was there anything else that you think, like, from your past year and a half of work experience that, like, you didn't know, besides this, like, you didn't know you were looking for it, or things that you, like, realized you won't look for in a future job? Anything that kind of,
Hmm.
I think I've had a lot of conversations about work this year. It's basically
Yeah.
my full-time job. And I think a big thing is your preconceived notion of what you think that is going to look like versus what you're actually doing on the job can have such a big difference. And I guess because you had you started as a volunteer and then you went in as an intern. Like you kind of got to grow within the organization, so it wasn't that big of a shock. But like,
Yeah.
was there anything that did surprise you from the job?
Um, wow, that's a really good question. I want to I want to say yes, there was, absolutely. I think that September, and maybe it was just the whole onboarding process, like officially of me stepping into this role with more responsibilities. But there was definitely a surprise in shifting from this, I don't know, like lower position into a position that held more weight, had more say. Um, but I don't think that it surprised me in like any serious way other than getting used to the new role and the new responsibilities, I guess.
All right. What who do you think like the profile of someone who should try to go into this career side versus who do you think should steer clear? I think that's a big thing. I always ask people, it's like, do you think I'm a good fit? Like what kind of person do you think thrives in a job like yours versus who's the kind of person that this is like absolutely not for?
Ooh, I think for my role specifically, if you like to chit chat, this is the job for you. I love to chit chat. I love to it is like I was just born into it, and so I just hit up conversations with strangers all the time, and so now as the communications manager, I'm out tabling a lot. I'm trying to, create more partnerships for the organization professionally, and so I mean, the best way to do it is just literally just to talk to people, and to make new friends. And I think that that is like one of the best parts of the job. And so if you don't like to talk to random people or strangers, please do not have this job. Um, I think also someone who would have this job likes dirt and likes bugs. If you are scared of bugs or birds or
It's pretty
anything
hands on.
dirt related, yeah, not for you. That being said, like I've had volunteers come from like I've seen people from like all walks of life come into this to like volunteer with us, and most people do a pretty good job. Some
And what's kind of
people,
like the age range, like career type, and kind of who's the kind of person who's coming in to volunteer?
we have a lot of university students actually
Oh yes,
volunteer
because you
with
have.
us. Yeah. We have partnerships, relationships, good working relationships with all of the universities in New Orleans, and so a lot of their students will come out to volunteer with us. We also have like community volunteers too. They're less because like I guess scheduling just works out better for the students, but um, our community volunteers are people who they're outdoorsy type people. They're outdoorsy type people. They know they like to get their hands dirty. They like to like go on walks or hike or they have a garden themselves and they just want to like learn more from us. And so, yeah.
Okay, final question. For someone who is thinking of going into not just specifically like the urban farming aspect, but into nonprofit and like
hmm
government work, what would be your advice for someone who's kind of considering going into that field or actively looking to go into it?
For nonprofit work specifically, I think there's two questions in that. I think going towards for a government job, I think is much more formal and rigid than going for a nonprofit job and something that's more closely aligned with mutual aid community building. And so for a nonprofit job, I sincerely think that you should just volunteer. If you have the opportunity to volunteer with the organization and start to cultivate that relationship already prior to a like job interview or job application, then that's also a great way for you to kind of have this like working interview for yourself and see if that organization really is for you. I would just go volunteer a couple times, see if it's for you, and then if they have happen to have a job opening, apply. If they don't, I would just talk to the team. Once you show up and you start to show your face and they know who you are, then they're going to ask about you. They're going to ask, oh, like, what do you do? How did you get here? And that's the moment when you can say, like, oh, I'm super interested in what you guys are doing. I would love to be a part of this for the future. And I
I think
think
what
for
you,
a lot of,
sorry, go ahead.
no, you're
I
good.
think
I think for a lot of nonprofits, oh, sorry.
what you
Like
said about
that's the way.
the like make it an interview for you. I think this is such a like important point. I think especially if any like recent grads or people in their final year of university are listening. You hear this a lot of like a job interview is two ways. And I used to think that was such BS. And I was like, I will take the first job that is offered to me. Like I just
Yeah.
need to work. And I think that also came from a place of like every job that I had up until like finishing my master's, I always had really positive experiences. And it was kind of a really positive experience from the get-go. And obviously there's aspects of what you're doing that you don't particularly like, but I never had like a bad feeling. And then I think like I did have a job interview this year and I did get offered the job in the end. And it was like, I'm so glad I don't regret saying no, but I think it was the first time that it clicked where I was like, it's also to find out if you want to be there. And I think that's such a good thing that you brought up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially, I think it's also like the scale of the organization too. So, I like, and right now I work for quite a small nonprofit. I think that small nonprofits is much different than like bigger nonprofits that have more departments and more people, obviously. Yeah. And then for government jobs, I think that the way to go about it is just to apply and then reach out. And government jobs have a lot of requirements, responsibilities, and formal training that they would like you to complete. So I think that any formal training that you can have on the front end of the application and then already apply with the skill sets necessary, a lot of times it is getting like certifications in certain trainings, like OSHA violation trainings, to make sure that you can oversee regulation authority properly, even if it's like a certain coding certification that you might have to have because of your role. So I think that having all of those on the front end can really help. Um, so yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and the fact that
Yes,
you called in from 7 a.m. If anyone
absolutely.
who's listening is New Orleans based and they want to get involved and volunteer, how would people get in touch? Uh,
Yeah. So you can absolutely follow us on Instagram. Please do. It is just at Research Farms.
I'll put all of that she's saying on the show notes as well.
Yes. It's just at Research Farms, and then we keep super updated on our Instagram. Our website is also recirculatingfarms.org, so you can feel free to reach out on there. Also, all of like our history, if you want to read about the organization's history and how it came to be, it's been around for over 10 years, and so there's a lot of history behind it. It's also all on our website. But yeah, the Instagram I think is the main way that you can get in touch with us, see what we're up to,
All
and
right,
get
perfect. I
involved.
will leave all that in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, my first guest.
Thank you, of
All right.
course.